Alright, this will be a reply to a different skies vid, tips, tiers, and gerrymandering. Um, okay. I know this is going to be thoroughly inadequate as I have largely ignored this debate to this point due to the massive amounts of personal invective employed on both sides. While there are times where this may be appropriate, I have found it disconcerting as as I wholeheartedly believe both sides are sincere in their stated opposition to the vilification of those who engage in sex work voluntarily and the dehumanization and exploitation of those coerced. So to all who may post in the comment section, please try to leave any animosities at the door. I hope, maybe even probably naively, that we can engage in civil and maybe even productive debate. If not, I will remove the vid and totally ignore the topic completely on YouTube forevermore. No disrespect intended to anyone, but I have no time for that. There are individuals I truly and deeply respect on both sides, and I will not be party to the furthering of divides between people who I feel should view each other as allies in the fight against inhumanity, even if they disagree, no matter how deeply, on certain issues. Thank you. Now that that is out of the way. Oh, in a different sky, please subscribe to her. As I said, some of the people I know I ain't gonna, but you know, she was one of my first supporters on here, one of my first subscribers, one of the first people I came into contact with. She has a heart of gold. Um, I have, like I said, I avoid the drama on here, so I don't know who said what first and all that other stuff. I mean, maybe it's possible she at times can let her emotions get the best of her. Who doesn't do that sometimes? But like I said, I support her. I love her. I think she's a wonderful, wonderful person, and I hope you all subscribe to her. Or if you don't get along with her, try to reconcile. If not, hopefully just avoid each other, because sometimes people just can't reconcile. But okay, like I said, thank you. Now that that is out of the way, I agree. The tier system needs severe revision. Compliance in terms of enacting laws is meaningless if it does not coincide with effective enforcement of those laws. I lack the expertise to say how they should revise it, but it is quite obvious that the current system is a total failure. I also agree that there should be emergency global decriminalization of the act of prostitution to enable those who are coerced into it and those who are willingly engaged in it to contact necessary authorities when in danger without the fear of self-incrimination and resulting prosecution. Unfortunately, I find this highly unlikely due to the large degree of influence reactionaries have in so many governments, the United States included. But regardless of how lofty this goal is, it should be pursued, and one by one, hopefully, someday, all the dominoes will fall. However, I do not see the benefit in criminalizing the buyer side. There may be some correlation between full-on legalization and trafficking statistics. Estimates among various organizations vary to such an extent it's hard to pin down which one is truly accurate. For me at least, for as I have said, I am far from an expert. So for me, it's even hard to draw strong lines of correlation, because with so much variation, one organization might be accurate about this country, another organization might be accurate about that country. I am not really quite sure about how to go about pinning down which ones are accurate and where they're accurate. So I can't. It's really hard for me to draw even correlation links. But even there's correlation, Okay, like as I said, I'm not far from an expert, but correlation does not necessarily imply causality. And to get me to sign on to that, there would have to be strong evidence of causality, as I have a hard time wrapping my mind around the idea that something that should be legal to sell, but it should be illegal to buy. Now, those who willfully and knowingly purchase the services of sex slaves should face charges and penalties on par with rape, as I see no difference in the acts, both in terms of intent and effect. Ultimately, I see capitalism and neocolonialism as the culprits in the crime of sex trafficking and human trafficking in general. While the dismantling of those hideous beasts may be accurately stated as even more daunting task than emergency global decriminalization, that is the fight that actually strikes at the heart of the problem. as well as the problem of those who engage in sex work willfully, but only as a result of the economic coercion, that is, poverty. According to most of what admittedly little I have read on the topic, a very large percentage of those who are trapped completely unwillingly in this are immigrant women and children who are undocumented in their host countries. Why do people take these risks? It is due to the extreme poverty, political disenfranchisement, and the utter lack of hope that exists in their nations of origin. And to deny the culpability of powerful nations in North America, Western Europe, and also Japan and China, along with the IMF and the World Bank, is absurd. It can only be a result of perverse disingenuousness and utter contempt for human dignity, or a complete ignorance of the topic. That is my incredibly too brief take on neocolonialism's complicity in this. If anyone would like further elaboration on that, please feel free to ask, and I will, at my nearest convenience, expand more on that in a separate video. As for capitalism's role, well, if you don't already know, I don't know what to say. Capitalism is a system that by its nature creates poverty. Poverty by its nature creates desperation, and desperation leads to actions one would not do under normal circumstances. I personally don't see anything wrong with sex work. I believe it serves a valuable role in society, and if one chooses to freely engage in it, more power to them. But if someone does not truly wish to partake in it, but feels they must due to lack of money and gainful employment options, then that is a travesty. Of course, many, if not most people, do not grow up to be what they wish they would be as children and suffer through the drudgery of a 9-to-5 existence while working their life away and are not adequately compensated for it. And not to belittle that problem, for it is truly epic. But our sexuality is deeply tied into our sense of self like few other aspects of our existence, and the trauma of having true choice in that realm denied of you by anything or anyone is going to be psychologically and emotionally damaging. Okay, again, if you would like to seek further elaboration on any point I made in that paragraph, feel free to ask, whether it's capitalism and its relation to the sex trade, sex work, sex trade, or my opposition to capitalism in general, or anything along those lines, anything I mentioned, or this or any other vid, please feel free to ask. I have no problem doing my best to more adequately express my opinion on anything. Okay, so in summation, I sympathize with your position due to its origin and a deep concern for the victims of sex trafficking and those who are forced by monetary concerns against their genuine free will, but I fail to see the causal link between legalization of the act of purchasing the services of sex workers and sex trafficking. If you feel I am mistaken, then feel free to attempt to convince me. I am always open to learning and changing my opinion if I determine that I am wrong. And even if we never agree on this, maybe we can at least gain a deeper insight into and respect for each other's opinions and respect for the opinions of others who share that opinion, and hopefully get some at least some modicum of reconciliation or respect between people. The whole debate has been kind of depressing to me. Really has, and that's why I've just avoided it. But alright, hey, peace.